Aslam or alikum everyone, I hope you all are doing well. Today we will discuss summary of drama The Devil's Disciple Act 2 and Act 3. So let's start. Act 2. The setting of Act 2 is Anderson's house. Judith was waiting for her husband. It was raining outside and Anderson hurrying there through the rain. Judith got afraid because of the sudden noise. Anderson calmed her by saying that is for King George. He probably needs something, so they sent a boy out with a bugle to disturb the whole town. What after that he said he went to Richard's house because he is in danger and he should help him by let him know this, but he was not in the house, so he left a note there. This terrifies Judith. She does not want a person like Richard in their house. But Anderson calmed her. After that came to their house, the fear in Judith's eyes can easily be seen. Anderson told Richard that his life is in danger. But Richard does not take it seriously and said, I am not who is in danger but you. They were having a conversation when Christy came and said his mother is ill and is calling Mr. Anderson. So, Anderson and Christy leave. Due to the behavior of Judith, Richard said he should leave, but Judith said if he leave, his husband would think that I made you leave my house. At that moment, Sergeant came and said he is here to arrest Mr. Anderson. He thought Richard is Anderson, so he arrested him. Richard also didn't make it clear, and secretly said to Judith that informed Anderson about it, and told him to run for his life, and do not come to save him, otherwise they both will be hanged. Judith fainted. When Anderson returned, he was astonished to find the room empty and Judith on the floor. Yet Judith was not in her senses. She could not able to explain the situation to Anderson, and Essie came. Essie said that Richard sent her word by a soldier, so she came and she will do whatever Mrs. Anderson would tell her. After that, Judith finally told the whole situation to Anderson. Anderson became furious, asked Judith to give him gun and money, and asked Essie to go to inn and told them to prepare their fattest horse before he came. He took $25, 2 pistols, a powder horn, and a bag PF bullets attached to it. Essie came and told him horse will be ready when he will be there, so left. Then she asked if he going to save Richard, but Judith said no, he is going to save himself. After listening to this, Essie screams with terror and falls on her knee, hiding her face, but Judith did not pay her attention. Act 3 opens in the waiting room at the British headquarters in the town hall where Judith is waiting. Judith asked if she has to wait for a long, but the sergeant said no, they have kept him in the bridewell for a night, and he has just been brought here for a court-martial. He also told her that he is all right. In the meanwhile, 2 soldiers came with Richard. The sergeant left them for talk, saying that there is a delay in his death because General Burgoyne has just arrived, to whom they call Gentlemanly Johnny, so they have 20 minutes. After that, Richard told Judith that they will hang me at noon punctually as they did with Uncle Peter. After that, he inquired if Anderson is okay and if he left for his life or not. Judith is angry with Anderson because he does not come to help Richard. But Richard was relaxed after hearing that Anderson is not coming there. Judith wants to tell the truth so Richard would be saved, but he strictly stopped her to do so. He also told her that his mother died that night of heart disease and her last word to him was her curse, so he does not have anyone to carry for him. That is why it's better for him to die in place of Anderson. After that, she begged them to let her go with him to a court hearing. Richard allowed her on demand that she will be quiet. She agreed. In court, General Swindon and General Burgoyne were going to hang him 12 at noon after hearing him. Burgoyne told Swindon about the news from Springtown, that Springtown is in the hands of rebels, and since 2 a.m., they will also be in the hands of insurgents. Swindon said that British soldiers will fight them, but Burgoyne was not satisfied at all. After their conversation, Richard came along with the soldiers and Judith. Burgoyne asked about Judith, and the sergeant said that she is Anderson's wife, so they offer her a chair. Then they begin the trail. They asked a few questions to Richard, and he gave back-to-back rebellious answers. Swindon doesn't like him, but Burgoyne respects him. Swindon asked if they need to call any witnesses, but Richard denied it. After the conversation, they decided to hang him at 12 o'clock, but then Judith rushed to the table and said that he is not his husband, Anderson. He is Richard, and if you don't believe me, send him out into the street for the first person you find there, and bring him as a witness. They did so, and the sergeant brought Christie as a witness, a packet of papers in his hand, and said, "Sir, it is delivered by a corporal of 53rd, dead beat with hard riding, sir." Burgoyne opens the pack. The papers were too much serious that he has forgotten about the court-martial. After that, Swindon asked Christie about his name. Christie was frightened, but Richard insulted him and said they will not hang him, so he became relaxed. In the meanwhile, Burgoyne said, "Where is the man who brought these?" Sergeant replied that he is in the guard room. Burgoyne goes out with haste that sets the officers exchanging looks. Swindon continued his investigation. After that, Swindon asked him if he knows Anderson the minister. Christie said of course he knows. He pointed at Richard and asked if he is Anderson, but Christie said, "No, he is my brother Richard." After that, Christie left. And Swindon said to Richard, "As you have taken the place of Anderson." Judith was confused and said, No. Swindon said to take the woman away. That made Richard mad. He sprang across the table and took hold of Swindon's throat. At that moment, Burgoyne came with two papers in his hand, a white letter and a blue dispatch. He came to know about the whole situation. After that, he asked Richard about William Maindek Parshotter, and he replied. After that, soldiers took Richard for a court-martial. When all of them have gone, Burgoyne said to Swindon that there is a demand for safe conduct. An officer of great importance from Springtown will come and arrange terms with us. He will be fully empowered to arrange the terms of our evacuation, leaving from the town. They are giving us 6 hours to disappear. Swindon wants to march on Springtown, but Burgoyne denied it and ordered him to safe conduct. At noon, the news of Richard's hang spread. Judith was preset where Richard was going to be hanged. Sergeant asked him to go, but she gave him $2, so he allowed her to stay. At that place, first come to Burgoyne and Swindon, then Bruinel, the chaplain, the Richard, behind him the executioner, a stalwart soldier in his shirt sleeves, 2 soldiers haul a light military wagon, and finally comes the band. The death march finishes, Judd watching Richard painfully. Bruinel tried to calm him, but Richard said them to let him alone, so they asked him to stay away. Then there is a time to hang Richard. By this time his hands are bound behind him, and the noose is around his neck, and when they were about to hang him, a man came into the market with a shout that he is Anderson Anthony. Everyone came attentive. 2 soldiers at a sign from a sergeant came forward to stop him, but he gave safe conduct to Swindon and said he is that officer, so now they have to stop everything. Richard was also saved. They have dialogues and Anderson went with Burgoyne for settlement. Anderson asked Richard to take Judith home safely. After that, Essie came. She was happy and said she wants to soldier, so she went. Judith said to Richard not to tell Anderson anything that she said to him before to Anderson, and he is not afraid. Essie came back and said soldiers are coming back. There was happiness and joy in the market. They hoist Richard to their soldiers and cheered him. So that was the summary of Act 2 and Act 3. I hope it will you to understand the text well, and I will put the link of characters and summary of Act 1 in the comments section as well, so you will have better understanding. If you like the video, then like, share and subscribe to my channel. Until the next video, Allah Hafiz.